deal.
Technology.
Yeah, I tell you, it's so funny. It's like you get a pretty good picture out of this little thing
I
like
know, I
this.
got one. I
Yeah.
love it, yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about why you decided to do this movie.
Wow, well, in making the film Boys of Fall, I came to Knoxville and interviewed Condredge because I wanted him to be a part of that. And when the people at ESPN saw the connection Condredge and I had,
Right.
saw that, how much of an influence he was in my life, and they called and asked me if I'd be interested in making a film just solely on Condredge.
Right.
And they're doing a this year for ESPN. Their initiative is the ESPN Year of the Quarterback, and they wanted Condredge to be a part of that. And they thought his story was very, very inspiring and very relevant. And I was honored they wanted me to tell it. But with that came a certain amount of responsibility. And I didn't realize that. I didn't think about that until I'd already agreed to do it. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
laying in bed going, "Oh my God, okay. I know I've agreed to do this. I want to do it." You know? But with that, there's a responsibility to Condredge. There's a responsibility to his family. There's a responsibility to his teammates and to his high school football coach and baseball coach
Right.
and everybody that was a part of his life. And that was the only stressful thing about making this film, because I wanted it to be very accurate. I wanted it to be inspiring. I wanted it to be emotional. And that's hard to do in 50 minutes.
Right.
So, but I believe that we've done that. I think that the people that have that really understand the rich tradition and history of Tennessee football are going to really enjoy this. I think it's going to bring back a lot of memories for them. And it was a thrill for me, because Condredge. I was 6 when he was a senior at Tennessee.
Right.
And he was one of the first guys that I remember looking up to. I saw orange number 7 out there, and I remember with my grandfather and my dad, and we would listen to the games, and we would watch the replay of the games on Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's where I learned to love sports. And Condredge Holloway was the first guy that I ever remember really turning me on in the sports world.
Wow.
And one of the reasons that I love, football, period. And him and Stanley Morgan and Haskell Stanback and all these guys that we all know so well. So to be a part of that, to be asked to tell that story, came a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
But one that me and Sean Silva, the guy that I did Boys of Fall with, it was such a great challenge, but one that I wanted to take on, and one that I felt like that was creatively so inspiring for me. It was a way to feed my soul creatively.
Right.
And wow, and we all know how great of an athlete Condredge was.
Right.
We all know that. But what I'm looking forward to people seeing, and what I hope they take from it, is that there was more than the guy that wore an orange number 7 jersey.
Right.
The human being that he is, how humble he is, how emotional he is, how it's just because that's what you don't see.
Right.
And that's what I hope to take from this film, and how much the adversity that he faced in the early 70s and being the first black quarterback in the Southeastern Conference. He don't like to talk about it.
Yeah.
And he shies away from it. He says he's more worried about the defensive end that was one kill.
Tell me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's human too.
Right.
And so that he channeled a lot of negative energy and made it positive. And
Well, you get that from the film.
and was a leader, and didn't allow that all the social stuff that was going on around him and the team to affect it. Because he was, in that way, I think he was a leader on the field and off, because he didn't, a lot of people followed his lead.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good for it because he was really young when he played here. He was like, I think he was 17 or 18. He was 18 years old when he first started. So for a kid to have that kind of leadership and to have people follow the way you act is, which is what a quarterback's supposed to do. But he was, I felt like he was very mature looking back on all of it, you know, and going through all the film and interviewing his family and his friends and teammates. It was a highlight. I will tell you that. I mean, something, Wayne, that I never thought I'd do. You know, when I decided to take time off the road in September of '09, if you'd have asked me if I'd have made 2 documentary sports films, I would have told you were crazy. But I'm really glad that I got that experience. It was an unbelievable creative outlet for me.
Right.
And I enjoyed the process a lot. But what I enjoyed most was being able to sit down and not just sit down and interview, but I never thought I would meet Stanley Morgan.
Right.
You know, I never thought I would meet Larry Sievers and Haskell Standback. These guys that you build up so big in your mind as a kid, you know. Yeah. And the thing that I'm most proud of, in a way, is that all kids have heroes.
Yeah.
We all have heroes. People that we still look up to. And sometimes when you meet those people, you wish you had never met them. Yeah. In music, I've got my musical heroes, songwriting heroes, and it's my sports heroes. And I'm just really glad that Condredge is not that person.
Right.
You know what I mean? That I was really glad I met him. Roger Frazier introduced me to Condredge Holloway right down here on the sidelines after he came back in 98, 99 or something like that. And I looked at Roger, and I've been friends with Roger a long time. Mm. I said, "Is that Condredge Holloway?" here I am, you know, I'm on the road. I've been doing this a while, you know, and I'm, you know, an adult. Uh-huh. And I'm acting like a kid, you know. But I said, "Man, can I meet Condredge Holloway?" Yeah. And then that's where our friendship really, you know, started, and this is real special, I think. And I'm excited for Condredge's story to be told, for people to see how great of a person he is, and for people that don't know the rich history for people that don't know the rich history and tradition that he's a part of, to see how great of an athlete he really was, and how I think that he was probably. I mean, you watched the moves he made. And I got a chance to revisit all of that, all these old games, and you forget. You know, Condredge was a great athlete, but you really forget how great he was until you start going through all this footage and watching it. Yeah. And he was definitely a lot like Michael Vick in 1972, 73, 74, and all these teams now want that kind of quarterback. That's where it's all kind of going, you know. But Condredge did that, what they're doing in the early 70s, and all from the line of under center. Yeah. He didn't get in the Wildcat. It didn't exist. You know? So, but I'm looking forward to people. I think that people that have had Tennessee football in their life for a long time, I hope they really, you know, they're going to feel emotionally invested and enjoy it, you know, because hopefully it'll bring back a lot of memories. And but for the people that don't, they're going to see a really great story about a guy that overcome adversity and handled it with a lot of grace and style. And I think there's something to be learned from that about athletes today and kids today that have dreams, and that because they're facing still, you know, sadly enough, they're probably still facing some of the same adversity that we faced that Condredge faced in the 70s. Yeah. You know, we don't want to admit that, but sure, we all know it's there in certain places.
You know what was really, you know, seeing the picture of you with a number 7, you know, jersey on when you're in school. I mean, you think how many young white kids, you know, who come from little, you know, families, you know, maybe not as
during that time in there.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember what it was like. You didn't see black and white kids walking down the street together.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like things like that. I think make a huge difference. I mean, that you've got this guy up there that becomes an icon and a hero to kids of, you know, of all colors.
You know what? And as I've been asked a lot, did the race issue ever come up?
Yeah.
I mean, did it ever come up in your family, or?
Yeah.
And it didn't really, because, and this is where we got the title of the film.
Yeah.
is because I didn't see black or white.
Yeah.
I was brought up to love everybody,
Right.
no matter who they are.
Yeah.
And that's just that we never talked about I never heard any of my family say, "God, that black quarterback at Tennessee can really play."
Yeah.
They would say that quarterback at Tennessee can really play.
Yeah.
And so I didn't see that. That was never an issue.
Yeah.
All I saw, like I said in the film, was the color orange and the T on the side of the helmet and number 7 on it. And that's anytime I played sports, I try to wear number 7 because I swear to God,
Wow.
At Gibbs High School, I wore number 7.
Wow.
And that's where my sports career ended. I quit growing.
Cool. Well, that's a really good film. I was telling
Thank you,
Condredge,
man.
places like there's that spot right toward the end where you pull back and you see the number 7 gold chain that his mom's wearing. It's so sweet. She comes off like such a nice person.
Very emotional, and his daughter.
Yeah, God, that was really nice.
And that's I don't know. And I haven't told Condredge this, but you can just in that film at the end when she's talking about Condredge, you can just feel the separation in her voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm really excited. Condredge hadn't seen it. Hadn't seen the film yet.
Wow.
He's seen portions of it.
He said he saw the part. He saw that little part with his daughter.
He saw his daughter.
Yeah.
And because we wanted to prepare him,
Yeah.
and but he hasn't seen anything else really. He's seen bits and pieces of me and him throwing the ball around and kneeling one night.
Right.
We got down here and run everybody out and turn the lights on, and childhood hero, my childhood hero. I was out there. How I say this? There was the kid that loved Condredge Holloway in the early '70s was all of a sudden on that same field catching balls for him. That was the highlight of my year, man. I was so excited. It was unbelievable. I never thought in the world, I was to sit up here and with my dad, I can take you exactly to the exact same seat. I know exactly where it's at. And watching all the games, as a kid, never in my life did I think that just for fun would I run around on the field and catch balls from Condredge Holloway. I mean, who does that really? Seriously. And that's just that was that was the most fun I had making the whole film. To be honest with you,
Wow.
it was like a Field of Dreams moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it was awesome, and I loved it. And I was so glad we did it. And so thankful for the opportunity with ESPN, and and I'm glad that they're going to tell his story, and they wanted to in the first place. And
Well, he said nobody had ever approached him, and it's hard to
find that
believe.
odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know he was back at UT. I mean, we all knew his name. I mean, everybody.
Right. It's as famous of a name in Tennessee.
Yeah.
As there is.
Yeah.
But I'm glad the story's getting told. I love him, and I've gotten, know a lot about it. And I'm really, like I said, I'm really glad that the guy that I saw wearing an orange number 7 jersey that was a hero of mine turned out to be such a great guy. And somebody that I'm proud to call your hero.
Good deal.
Yeah, man.
It's good to see you again, buddy.
You too, pal.